Hey guys. So earlier today on campus, there was a guy standing there holding a sign. Actually, there's a couple guys that hold signs. One guy, he's a pretty friendly guy. He just holds a sign. Actually, the sign that he was holding today isn't even about God. It just simply says, "All we need is love and $1 million each." That's kind of funny. He does have religious signs though, so he does have like a sign that says like God loves you and stuff like that. And I don't have a problem with this guy because all he's saying is God loves you. Yeah, it's an unverifiable statement. There's no evidence for it whatsoever, but you know, there's no harm in that. I don't see any harm personally. The other guy is holding a big sign. This is a sign that is on a pole that I would say is probably 10 to 12 feet tall. It's a pretty big pole, and then it's about like a little less than half of the pole from the top to the middle is covered in what is the sign. And it says, "It's easy to be an atheist when you don't think about where everything came from." Now, when I originally hear this, it raises a question in my head. Are you referring to abiogenesis or are you referring to uh, before the Big Bang? Now, obviously, I can't answer for this guy, so I could be completely wrong. But there are two things that point me towards before the Big Bang. Number one, when he says where everything came from, usually isn't referring to things we see, in life. Things that wouldn't be here from evolution. Everything would include things that came from, stars and stuff like that. So I don't really think he's talking about abiogenesis there, but the other thing is the sign. The background of the sign is it's like it's a view from space, basically, and it just looks like a bunch of black with stars and little lights and stuff like that. It just looks like space, and so for the sake of this video, I'm assuming that he is talking about before the Big Bang. This is something I've addressed before, and it's something that I feel like is important to understand. So, based on what people say, well, what he is saying is that we don't know where we came from, and if we did, or if we think about where we came from, then there's no reason to be an atheist, insinuating that it is logical to believe in God, believe that God created everything on no evidence whatsoever. Which falls for two fallacious arguments completely. Number one is the God of the gaps, stating that we don't know where we came from, how the universe originated, therefore God. That is just a classic God of the gaps argument right there. So it falls on its face. That argument is fallacious and is irrelevant. The second reason, or the second fallacy, is the fallacy of passing the buck, which basically is stating that instead of answering the question, you're pushing the question on and either ignoring it or making it more complex. Both ways, it's still a fallacious argument and can't be used. You would need to, in order to argue a case like that, you would need to actually have evidence and proof that God actually created it, not based on your proof off of our ignorance, our lack of knowledge of where the universe came from. And assuming that it is just logical to believe that God created everything because we don't know also falls for the God of the gaps. And there's no reason to believe it. And there's no reason to believe that the creation has to be supernatural or the origin has to be supernatural. There's no evidence to support that whatsoever. You would have to provide that evidence first. And then you'd also have to go on and provide evidence that it is your specific God that created everything, not Allah, not Thor, not Loki, not Zeus, not some god that no one worships that we don't know about. You would have to demonstrate all of these before your claim would even become remotely true. Now, the other problem with what he's saying. I'm an atheist. Personally, I've thought about the origin of the universe. I know that we don't know. I will 100% admit we don't know where the universe came from. We don't know that if it originated, if it's eternal, if it's the multiverse theory. We don't know. And we may never know. But it is dishonest, intellectually dishonest, to substitute God in because we don't know. The same thing goes for like our morality. I believe evolution will one day be able to explain morality in depth. And when it does, or if it does, then great. But there's no reason, and it is intellectually dishonest to substitute God in without evidence. You need to provide evidence, and lack of evidence is not evidence. And so, or not lack of evidence, lack of knowledge is not evidence. That's a better way to put it. But most atheists that I know, look at this issue of the origin of the universe, and it doesn't affect their beliefs or their lack of belief for multitude of reasons. But namely, and I should start out with this, atheism does not entail any belief about anything except for the lack of belief in a God. And that doesn't, an atheist could believe that an alien created everything and left, or we are all aliens and we created, or just atheists could believe a plethora of different things. And so saying atheism has no claim on the beginning of the universe. Atheism solely has a claim on the existence, or the rejection of the claim on the existence, of deities. That's it. Just like you, the man holding this sign, you're an atheist to Zeus, Thor, Loki, Allah. So does that mean that you then are an atheist, so then you believe that the Big Bang created it and you don't fall for this fallacy? Oh, no, it doesn't. But that's because atheism has no claims on anything whatsoever. It also does not destroy the atheist argument that that there's not enough, because the argument is there's not enough evidence to believe in a God. The argument is not there is no God. I will not say there is no God or gods. I will say there's lack of evidence to believe in one. You need sufficient evidence to be able to prove it to me, to a lot of other people, and to allow it to affect anything in our lives. And so that's what our claim is. And stating this has no correlation to it whatsoever. Atheists, like I said, think about this. And we know that we don't know the answer. That sounds really weird, but we know that we don't know the answer yet. But the key word is yet. We will probably know the answer in the next maybe 1,000 years, maybe 100 years, maybe decade. Could be millennia, or that is 1,000 years. Could be like millions of years if the human race happens to exist until then. And so we don't know where we came from, but that's okay. That really is okay. And I want everyone to know that it is okay to not know. Not knowing is better than stating that you know without evidence. Believing something to be true that has no evidence whatsoever. Blind faith. I actually recently just submitted an essay today for my writing class where I talk about skeptical thinking and how you can't take things on blind faith. And I believe that applies here too. I understand that he's pointing out that we don't know the answer, but he is substituting in something on blind faith that has no evidence whatsoever and expecting it to be taken as if, oh my God, it's so logical that God created everything because we don't know the answer. That's so logical. Oh, and then you realize there's no evidence for God. Darn, you almost got us there. That's about it for the video, guys. Post in the comments below what your thoughts are on this and this sign, and what you believe about this issue, about these two fallacies that are brought into play. And also post a comment about what you guys would say to this guy if you were able to walk up and talk to him. That's about it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe.